you alluded to that you're kind of an artist, fixated on nostalgia. I always like to ask this question, like, of people that I just meet and kind of get to know. What era did you formally grow up in? Like,
80s kid, 87.
Oh, my man. Yeah. Okay. All right, my man. 80s kid. All right. I'm probably a little bit older than you, but the 80s, you'll probably, we always say the 80s is the greatest generation of pop. It's the greatest decade of pop culture.
Technically, you're an 80s kid, even though you weren't.
I was born in the 70s, but
you weren't.
But
you didn't come to fruition
until the 80s. That's right. I grew up in the 80s, so I always claim the 80s is my decade.
Yeah,
it is without question the greatest decade of pop culture. Period.
Exactly.
Period. So
it's a little bit of a combination of the 80s and the 90s.
No, it's still the 80s because there's
the 80s were great. I'm not taking anything away, but everything that the 80s gave us, the 90s blew it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. They did.
That's debatable, but okay. All right, that's debatable.
I mean, look at it like this. You had Terminator. Terminator 2 came out in 92.
Okay.
Yep.
Movie.
Back to the Future.
So, yeah.
But the 80s had a lot of great stuff in that. So from Tron to The Running Man to Tango and Cash to the whole Rocky series.
My man is running them down.
Yeah.
Yes. He's running them down.
The 80s was great too.
Yeah. No, but what would you say has been, I know the 80s in general, has been a great influence on you, but what kind of like really turned you into a fan of nerddom, nerd culture? Was it the cartoons? Was it the video games? What is it?
Well, to be honest, it would be easier just to say it's a melting pot for it.
Sure.
But to be honest, it was the music.
It was the music. The music of the 80s or 8-bit music?
No, you mean as in games or it just
just in general?
Well, I love the 80s scores and stuff, like the whole synth and the heavy emotion that they put in records, like from Terminator to RoboCop to the Karate Kid to all those. I mean, like from the A-Team to I really enjoy that kind of nostalgia in music, and then it just kind of merged right into the 90s. The 90s, with us as kids, it was like, if that intro wasn't it, we weren't watching it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You're 100%. You're right. Because like Knight Rider will hook you.
Yep.
Airwolf will hook you.
Yep.
I'm trying to think what else would hook you. Magnum PI will hook you.
Shockingly enough, MASH will hook you too.
Yeah.
True. Very true. Even though I would never watch that show, but the song,
the
song will pull you in.
That was the thing, as when we were kids, that we knew it was time to go to bed because that song came out.
That song still makes me sleepy to this day.
Right. No, I hear you. No, that's 100% right. So obviously, one of the greatest songs of the '80s, synth pop, Harold Faltermeyer's "Axel F" from Beverly Hills Cop. To me is one of the best ones because it's just like you hear it and you just easily you know exactly what it's synonymous with.
Oh yeah.
It's just great. But you say that's what made you want to be a musician? Is that what made you want to be a musician? Or
well, I was always inspired by that particular one because the thing is with my music, I just wanted to make it something you could feel. You feel what I mean?
Right.
And a lot of those trigger, especially when I do scores and things like that for like for different fandoms and stuff like that, I always want to capture the feel of what I'm watching.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I like the kind of music that can be able to trigger emotion and be able to make somebody feel something. Like if it's a sad song, I would like somebody to feel sad. If I make it something hyper or anything like that, I want people to be excited about it. And like certain things like that with those inspirations, like from Michael Jackson to, believe it or not, Weird Al Yankovic earlier in the 90s to, man, there's a lot of different inspirations that came with that. And I was always inspired by the cartoon intros. You know what I mean? Like all this, you learn about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one or the Power Rangers, and you grasp on and connect with that show just because of that. Like one of the shows that's like a sleeper that people know about, but they don't really know how much energy it gave is King Arthur and the Knights of Justice.
Oh, dude, that show used to every Sunday I will be watching.
Yeah, exactly, at 11:30. Yeah.
Loving weapons
Wolf
so
said
much.
Golden Girls. That's
I love
Golden
Girls.
Girls.
Thank you for being my friend.
Yeah.